The last guest had barely stepped out when the house fell into an eerie silence. Just minutes earlier, the room had been alive with music, laughter, and the constant shuffle of people moving from the kitchen to the living room. Now the speakers were off. The lights felt brighter than they should, and the only sound left was the slow ticking of the wall clock. I thought the night was over. I was wrong, because after the party ended, she looked at me and said something that changed everything. I was waiting for this moment, and what happened next was something I never saw coming. The last song of the night faded into a quiet hum as the speakers clicked off. For a moment, the room still held the echo of laughter and music, like the walls themselves were reluctant to let the night end. Paper cups sat abandoned on the coffee table. A few balloons floated lazily near the ceiling, their strings tangled together like they had spent the evening dancing too. The faint scent of perfume, pizza, and something sugary lingered in the air. Just an hour earlier, the house had been full of voices, clinking glasses, and the heavy rhythm of a playlist someone insisted was perfect for every mood. Now, it was quiet. The kind of quiet that almost feels unreal after so much noise. I stood near the kitchen counter, stacking plates and trying to ignore the dull ache in my feet. Hosting a party always seems like a great idea, until the moment everyone leaves and the cleanup begins. The front door closed softly somewhere behind me. "Text me when you get home," someone called from outside. "I will," another voice replied. Then footsteps faded down the driveway, followed by the distant sound of a car starting. And that was it. The party was officially over. I wiped my hands with a paper towel and looked around the living room. Empty chairs, crumpled napkins, a half-finished bowl of chips sitting on the table, almost empty anyway, because she was still there, leaning quietly against the back of the sofa, watching me. At first, I assumed she was waiting for a ride, but the room had been silent for several minutes now, and she hadn't moved toward the door. "Hey," I said casually, "you don't have to stay and help clean up." She gave a small smile but didn't answer. Her name was Elena. We had known each other for years, though known might not be the right word. Our lives had crossed paths in strange ways. Mutual friends, random gatherings, short conversations that always seemed to end just when they were getting interesting. Somehow, she had always been around, but never quite close enough for me to understand her story. Tonight had been no different. She arrived with a group of friends, laughed with everyone, blended into the crowd, and disappeared into conversations before I could speak with her properly. And now she was the last person left in the room. "You sure you're okay?" I asked, stacking more cups. "Did your ride cancel or something?" She pushed herself gently off the couch and stepped closer. "No," she said softly. "My ride didn't cancel." I frowned slightly. "Then?" She stopped a few feet away from me. The light above us caught the calm expression on her face, but there was something deeper there too, something thoughtful. Outside, the wind brushed softly against the trees. Inside, the clock ticked loudly on the wall. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she looked straight at me and said quietly,
"I was waiting for this moment."
I blinked. Waiting for what moment? She glanced around the room as if confirming what we both already knew, that everyone would leave. I chuckled lightly, assuming she was joking. "Well," I said, "congratulations. You're officially the last guest." But she didn't laugh. Instead, she folded her hands together as if gathering the courage to say something important. "Do you remember the night we first met?" she asked. The question caught me off guard. "Sort of," I said slowly. "It was Mia's birthday party, right? A few years ago?" She nodded. "You were standing on the balcony," she said, "talking about how you wanted to start something meaningful someday, not just another job." I tried to remember that moment. The party had been loud and crowded, just like tonight. "I guess I said a lot of things that night," I admitted. "You did," she said gently. "You talked about how people spend their lives waiting for the perfect moment to do something that matters." Her eyes met mine again. "And you said most people miss it because they're too afraid to act when the moment finally comes." A strange feeling of recognition stirred inside me. Maybe I had said that. It sounded like something I would say back when big ideas felt powerful. That was a long time ago, I said quietly. Yes, she replied. Then she reached into her handbag and pulled out a folded envelope. I've been carrying this for almost 2 years, she said. My eyebrows lifted. 2 years? She nodded and handed it to me. My name was written neatly across the front. For me? I asked. Open it. Inside was a letter, but it wasn't what I expected. It wasn't a confession. It wasn't a dramatic revelation. It was something far more powerful. 2 years ago, Elena had started a small community program across town. Free tutoring, mentorship, weekend meals for kids who needed support. At the top of the page was the program's name, and underneath it were the words that made my chest tighten. Inspired by a conversation I overheard at a party, I looked up slowly. You built this? I asked. She nodded. It started small, she said. Just a few kids after school, but it kept growing. I flipped the page over. There were photos. Children studying together, volunteers helping with homework, a group picture outside a small community center. You're doing all this because of something I said? I asked quietly. Not just that, she replied, but you sounded like you believed it. She paused, and I realized I had been waiting my whole life. The room suddenly felt different. The leftover decorations, the empty cups, the balloons drifting near the ceiling. None of it mattered now. Why tonight? I asked. Because tonight felt right. She gestured around the silent room. You were surrounded by everyone earlier. I didn't want to interrupt. Then she smiled softly. So I waited. I looked down at the photos again. One showed a group of children holding handmade signs. Thank you, volunteers. Do they need help? I asked quietly. She tilted her head. With the program? Yeah. Her eyes brightened. Always. I folded the letter carefully. For years, I had talked about doing something meaningful, but somehow, life had turned those dreams into endless delays, waiting for the right time, the right opportunity, the right moment. And without me even realizing it, someone else had taken my words seriously. You know what's funny? I said. What? I've spent the last 2 years talking about starting something meaningful. I looked at her. You actually did it. She shrugged gently. I just stopped waiting. The house was completely silent now. No music. No voices. Just the quiet ending of a long night. I grabbed my keys from the counter. Well, I said, walking toward the door, you didn't come all this way just to give me a letter. Her eyebrows lifted. No? I smiled. Show me. For the first time that night, her expression changed. Not surprise. Not relief. Hope. Now? She asked. Why not? Outside, the cool night air wrapped around us as we stepped out. Before we walked to the car, she paused and looked at me again. You know, she said softly, I really was waiting for this moment. I opened the car door and smiled. Then let's not waste it. Sometimes the moment that changes your life doesn't arrive with noise, music, or a crowd. Sometimes it comes quietly, after the party ends. If this story touched you, share it with someone who might be waiting for their moment. And remember, the right moment might not be something you wait for. It might be something you create.